Guys, thanks for watching. We go from one power couple to another. Today we have Stephanie Nayan and Hunter Hickman, along with teaching a free women's self-defense class every Saturday at Legacy Jiu Jitsu. They're also MMA fighters and Jiu Jitsu competitors. So I hope you enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. Yeah, so, and then just hold the microphones close the whole time, but they'll be monitoring audio and all that kind of stuff. So.
Do you record it too, like video?
Yeah. So yeah, it goes on YouTube, and then the audio only goes on Spotify. So then, whether you have access to either way, if you're driving to work, you can listen to it. If you have time to sit at home or drive and watch YouTube, whatever.
You can watch it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I've been missing it this whole time.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretend like you didn't say that, and I'm gonna pretend like you guys have been watching the whole time.
Spotify for sure.
Perfect. Yeah.
But so I got to see that you'll like take a picture at the end, and that's all I told Hunter. I was like, no video. Like for the most part, I thought.
Oh no, we had a video too. So luckily you wore your nice clothes.
These
good.
Fancy get up.
Actually, I really like the pants. Actually,
my nice sweatpants.
They're nice.
These are my nice ones.
Yeah, nice. What are you guys up to today?
Oh my goodness. So I think we messaged you last week and told you that our tenants, like their stuff has been just falling apart.
Yeah.
And so today, or like yesterday or the day before that, the same tenant that had a problem last week had another problem this week, and Hunter had to buy like a whole new dryer for them, and that's what we were installing and like trying to get done before.
Yeah. What do you guys own like a fourplex or something?
Yeah, I have a fourplex. We live in one of the units.
Perfect. That's the way to do it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I recently started the fire academy. And right after starting, I've had like 3 different water leaks from the roof.
Man.
A tub that started leaking out water out of the bottom of it. A dryer that went out. Dude, it's been rough. But
and all since when did that academy start? Like pretty recently, right?
I think the 18th of January, something like that.
Are there like a lot of people in that academy, or is it like just like a select few? How's that work?
Mine is 23 people, but it was a lot of people that applied. They said somewhere around 400 people.
Dang.
Like that, so.
I was talking to my wife lately. Like I've actually told her like for a while, I was like, it'd be cool to be a firefighter or something like that. And then one of the guys that trained in the morning class with us, his name's Kyle. I feel bad because I'm blanking on his last name right now. So hopefully he watches this, but he actually got accepted to it. So he started it. So he had to like take off mornings now because it interferes. Like by the time he's got to get out there, and it's hard to like leave the morning class at a certain time. I assume he wants to go shower and then go out there. But yeah, so
like
one day I'll learn his
last
last
academy?
name. No, it's going on right now.
He's in there right
so
now?
I assume it's probably the same one. He's
Dodson?
Dodson, yeah, Kyle Dodson, yeah.
He's literally never once mentioned training at Legacy.
Goodness.
What?
This whole time,
so
they all
cool.
know I train there, and he's never once said it.
Really?
Yeah.
He's been. He started. Me and Kyle, we worked together. I started a company, Signature Land Services. I want to say 12 or plus years ago, and he was there when I got there. I think he was kind of doing like a summertime job type thing, and then he went to college, and I stayed there. And then maybe came back here or there, and but then he messaged me out of the blue one day asking about like he wanted to get into jiu-jitsu and all this, and he started literally the next day. And then like the 6 a.m. class is the next day. So like it's like how often people like message you like, oh yeah, I want to get into this, or like talk to you about it, and then maybe they don't show up at all, or maybe they do months later. 100%. He was 100% in right away.
They never show up.
Right? They never do. Everyone. It's like when I got into real estate. Everyone has like an idea to buy a house. Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks it's a good idea, but then when it comes to actually like planning to buy a house, nobody actually plans to buy a house. So it's like the same thing with like jujitsu or like hobbies. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to do that. I've been thinking about doing that, but you're not actually going to do it.
Right.
He was 100% in. It was great. And then, he's like, he's pretty young. He's fit and active. So like he was like just a natural, caught on right away. And it was kind of a bummer like to know like he was starting the fire academy because it was going to take him away from it. But hopefully like once it's done, how long is it?
So we should be graduating April 1st, and then I have to stay and do some more medical training. He might have to as well, actually.
Yeah.
So
is it like for like the EMT side of it or something?
Yep.
I think he mentioned he got his EMT from, oddly enough, same place my wife used to work at Team One, and I'd assume like that helped him get in a little bit, just having that like on the resume. So I don't know if he will or won't or like the whole thing, but he just mentioned it one day after class. He was like, "Yeah, sorry to tell you, I'm going to be out for a while," and like so I just got like the gist of it, but.
Yeah, like I said, he's never once mentioned it to me at all, so that's crazy.
Shit, well, maybe he's not coming back. You never know.
Nah, I bet he will. He seems like he seems pretty active.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody there is an athlete of some sort. You know
man.
what I mean?
And I think it's like always like that. There's always like hundreds of people that apply for that type of thing.
Yep.
What do you do? What do you do now? Or I guess previously before the academy.
Before the academy, I was working for NSTAR doing like natural gas leaks and emergencies for them.
Yeah.
So,
How is that schedule?
Mostly 8 to 5, and then they do like a rotating like amount of different shifts. So there'd be like a 4 to midnight where you're on call till 7 a.m. There's like a 1 to 9, a 12 to 9, and stuff like that. So
was there like a busy time of the year, like winter time was like the worst, or something like that? Just because like I don't even know how that would work. I guess it might not freeze like
it
the
depends
gas.
on what the order is. So you get more contractors hitting gas lines in the summer.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're just digging more. But you get more fires and stuff like that in the winter because people are, like right at the beginning of winter, people plug in all their crappy heaters and stuff like that. And they run all these extension cords and everything. So depends.
We had and this is just kind of like comparing underground utilities. We had a contract when at Signature for AWWU. So like the wintertime was the worst. Like the wintertime, like everything piles up because like the water freezes, or like the water mains break or something. So you're out in like 10 below trying to work on like these roads and spreading like cold patch and like tons at a time, and it's the worst. And then luckily like that you only have to do that like when like the main roads or something like that breaks, and then if it's like a back road or like your neighborhood street, something like that, then they'll just like leave wrap in it, and then you can go back in the summertime and deal with it. But man, like there's always something like a main road. Like we've been out like Tudor Road at like 2 a.m. at like 10 below, or while it's snowing and you're trying to plow commercial lots at the same time. Like it was the worst contract ever, just trying to have to deal with that. But like I said, that was just more like you said, like no one's digging in the wintertime. Well, not many people are digging in the wintertime, so it's probably not the same exact thing.
People do it, but you got to get like a tent set up and thaw the ground. It's way more expensive.
Yeah, it's what a hassle.
Yep.
What do you do? Do you work or anything?
I do. I work for the courthouse.
Oh,
yeah. So like
I've seen posts about
over
that,
my
right?
head.
Nice. How long have you done that?
I'm going on 4 years in August.
Nice. What do you do for him?
So I work for a specific judge. And like he's my supervisor, so we just started this brand new program where we were just like a department of judicial in courts is what they would call us. And they would assign us to different calendars that you would work, and so I'd get to see all different parts of the courthouse, mainly OCS cases, and so that's what I worked with the most for a while. And then if a judge favors you, they can go like, would you like to work for me? And
is that what happened to you?
That is what happened. And then they made it to where the program is like he is now my supervisor, so like that's who I report to. And it's so fun. I enjoy my job so much, and I get to see, we mostly do civil cases, and so I get to see a lot of family law, and I get to see a lot of into like people's lives. Like I get that like people come into the courthouse, and if you're smart, you'll like learn from other people's mistakes, because me and Hunter both have our own exes, so our own children, our own exes. And if you're smart, you'll learn from other people's mistakes. And then pick up on it and be like, oh, this is the kind of co-parent I want to be. This is how I want to communicate with my ex. And it's been an incredible experience.
Nice. And like helpful in that aspect, huh?
Yes.
You guys seem smart enough to take little hints from other people's mess ups and their good things they do. So
for sure. And like lots of growth there, and a lot of I feel really good being there, and overall it's been a really great experience. The best boss I've ever had, and I don't say that just because he's a judge or anything, but he's genuinely really cool. Awesome.
And then did you get into the firefighter thing because like you didn't like your job, or you just wanted to start something new, or
NSTAR natural gas company is awesome. They're a great company to work for, but it can be kind of comfortable, and I'm young, so I just tend to prefer things that are like pretty high pace and pretty physical and stuff like that. And NSTAR has its moments, like somebody hits a main, or you can have a random call that you think is going to be pretty calm, and it can be a home filled with gas, and you have to go in and make it safe. but those moments are pretty few and far between. And I feel like AFD kind of makes use of my health and fitness a little bit more than N-Star, driving around in a van all day. So just suits me.
That's cool. And to be like more like exciting, like moment to moment too, and just not knowing like what's going to happen. Same time, N-Star has that too, with like not knowing what you're going to walk into. But man, just the excitement of being a firefighter, and just like I'd imagine like once you're actually out there and like on the truck and go into these different situations, like man, just the feel good it's going to bring you. Like it's got to be just like life changing in itself.
Pretty satisfying, I would think. And I think most of it's going to be medical calls.
That's what I think. I bet too. Like the huge thing for like to have the EMT background or like that medical background is just because so many, like anytime like someone has like a heart attack at their house or something, like the ambulance comes, but the fire truck comes too.
Yeah.
I would love to know why that is, but
they're both AFD. All the ambulances are the firefighters. You do 1 week on the fire truck and then 1 week on the ambulance.
Oh man!
So you got to learn to do both.
I also didn't know that.
Hey, that's really cool. I didn't know.
Neat?
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And then so you graduate in April, and then so once you graduate from the academy, is there like a on-the-job training, like I don't know, like I don't want to say like a probationary period, but just like when they take you out and it's more like still dipping your toes in, or is it just like straight out there and you just have guidance next to you the whole time?
So it is exactly a probationary period. It's 450 days from the date of hire, so it's about a year. So the following April, you'll get out on your own. Well, not on your own, but generally, from my understanding, is what they do is they put you in what's called a 4-pack. So if you're on the fire truck, you would be the fourth man on a fire engine, or fourth man or woman. And generally, right now, Anchorage only does 3. Mm-hmm. So you have a few months where you're kind of like the last guy doing like all the grunt work, learning what you can. Yeah. But pretty quickly, you're the third guy, and it's pretty dang important that I bet how to do your job at that point. Yeah. So, and especially when you're on an ambulance, you're going to be the second guy you're required to know where everything is, and paramedic asks you for something, you better be able to hand it to him pretty quick. Yeah.
Are the drivers of like the ambulance and the drivers of the fire truck, like they're still like fully in it too, like they just happen to drive the vehicle, or is their position like a little bit less involved in like the emergency aspect?
So the ambulance would generally be driven by the lower guy on the totem pole. Mm-hmm. Like for me, if I'm on an ambulance, I'd be the one driving. Yeah. That way the paramedic or whoever I'm with is ready to go,
just ready
to show
up
on scene.
Yeah.
It's the kind of the opposite for a fire truck or a fire engine. Whereas you would start out as a firefighter and then you have to get promoted up to what's called an engineer. Yeah. Where you're operating the pumps and you're driving the truck or the engine.
Do you have to have a CDL to drive those?
I'm not sure. It's a good question.
Seems like you would.
I would think so, but maybe I can't answer that question. But yeah, they are a higher. They've gotten promoted up to that, and they're still. It kind of depends on the scene, but they're pretty active on the fire scene as well. Yeah, they're not just sitting around at the engine. So, yeah,
I'd imagine even like the ambulance driver though, like they're not just sitting around, but like you said, they can't just hop out as soon as they get there. They probably got a little bit more stuff to set and get ready, park the vehicle, that kind of stuff, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah, man, that's awesome though. Yeah. Like, good for you. That's great. Aside from having like your normal day-to-day lives, MMA fighters, both of you now, right? You had your first fight recently.
I did.
That's awesome.
That was really fun.
Yeah, Jiu Jitsu competitors, and which I can't say it enough. I think we probably mentioned it like every episode. Like the women's matches.
I have been listening
at that quintet. Like, oh man, just like
they're the best.
Savage matches.
So freaking proud. I am so proud.
I bet.
So I started jujitsu I started boxing when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I remember being like one out of like 2 girls out of the whole gym. And like the atmosphere was very much like, why are you here? Yeah. Like this is very like, this is a man's sport. If you want to be in here, you got to train like a man. Yeah. Attitude. And at the time I was willing to like prove that, and be that. But then when I like started going to Legacy, I didn't want to have to earn that spot, and so I didn't want it to be like that, but I assumed Legacy was like that.
And if like from like maybe like an outside perspective, like if you first walk in, it is kind of like that, right? Like it's if you guys go to class, like the evening class or even our morning class or whatever it might be, it's just kind of the nature of the activity, but it's like 90% guys. it doesn't seem like it's, at least at our gym, and the other gyms like I've been to in town also, it's not necessarily like that, like, oh, you gotta prove yourself, you shouldn't be here. Like everyone's like really helpful, right?
Yes.
Like, and it's a great atmosphere. I've never been in a boxing gym, but I can see how it would be like that for sure.
Yes. And this was in Las Vegas, and it was like the tap out gym. So they had everything. And I was just really attracted to the boxing.
Yeah.
But I knew that, to me, it was the self-defense aspect that attracted me, so I knew I had to learn jiu-jitsu, and that was the hardest one for me to get into, because I was like, this is weird.
The jiu-jitsu part?
Yeah, there's so much touching, and the positions, it just for me was really uncomfortable, but I knew it was going to be helpful, so I just like need to get through it, and eventually I'll like it, right?
Nice. So you started in boxing, but then you went into jiu-jitsu. Like, why'd you go into jiu-jitsu? Just like, did you want to like do MMA?
Yeah. So I had I walked in there, and I was getting bullied a lot at the time as a teen, and
and you grew up in Las Vegas?
Yes. Okay. And a lot of the fights or any like bullying scenario that were like incredibly memorable were ended up on the floor. And so I knew it was important for me to.
I think that's like most street fights like end up on the floor, right?
That is my understanding.
Yeah, it seems like it would.
Like 80%, some number like that.
Yeah, unless it's like a World Star video or something like that. But like any like normal street fight you see, like someone ends up with like some horrific takedown or like some violent, dangerous takedown. And then they just hold each other on the floor until like their friends come and break it up.
100%.
Right?
If somebody like ambushes you with punches and you walk backwards and trip.
Yeah.
It just like happens like that. And so I knew that I had to like figure it out. But jiu-jitsu was really difficult for me to get into, and Muay Thai and boxing was just so much more easier. But when I started at Legacy, Hunter would tell me like the vibe, like I promise you it's not like that. You don't have to prove anything. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I've been to a lot of gyms in Las Vegas. They're like everywhere. And so I got the opportunity to like train with multiple coaches and walk into all of these gyms. And the atmosphere was very much like that, where it was like not very female friendly, and so I would just sit on the sidelines for a while, and I think it was like a year and a half before I was like, okay, I'll jump in. I
can imagine Vegas it's like might be like a little bit more hostile than here also, especially the tap out gym. You imagine how many bros are in the tap out gym. Like
it was
the UFC gym times 10 probably, wearing nothing but their tap out shirts that they bought at the check-in, or Affliction t-shirts or something crazy like that.
Well, especially back then.
Oh yes. So. And then what year was that?
I was 16 when that happened.
So that was like the height of tap out probably, right?
I'm 29 now.
13.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm like mid-30s, so.
You're so old.
I know. I have to shave my hair so no one sees it.
I have this crazy story where it was like I don't remember how long in, probably like 3 or 4 months in, but I was brand new baby, like into Muay Thai or boxing and Muay Thai. And I had this one coach that I particularly gravitated to, and he particularly gravitated towards me. We just clicked. Yeah. But I didn't realize that there was drama between the coaches, right? Oh. And so his class was at a certain time, and right after that class, or right before that class, there was a different class. Yeah. And so I'd go to that class, and that coach was upset that I was going to this coach's class. Yeah. And so he partnered up with me in the class and knocked me out in class. And I had to prove that I was allowed to be a part of that class by being able to take that hit. Yeah. And I didn't, obviously. And so those both coaches got into it intensely. So I woke up to these coaches, like these two grown men just yelling at each other, like, why did you do that? You can't do that. Yeah. I didn't do anything. And like they're just like yelling, and I was like, this is incredible. Yeah.
Like with gyms down there, like you see it like on TV too, or like if you ever like follow like fighters on like maybe like their day-to-day life, like Mike Perry, like you guys know who Mike Perry is?
Yeah, of course.
So he ended up being a coach at the UFC gym. And could you imagine that guy like coaching you? Like amazing fighter, right? And like he's made for bare knuckle, but probably not the guy you'd want to walk in and be like, yeah, I'm going to take this guy's class. And like they just hire anyone. Like their resume, like I don't know what the resumes are, just having professional fights maybe, and that's enough to get you a coaching. Like so, a nice thing like jiu-jitsu gyms, like their coaches are not like just random people off the street who say that like they're a black belt. Like they're just people who actually train with you or like go to that gym, and then I don't know if they volunteer or they get handpicked or how it works out, but because I feel like I kind of got like thrusted into it at like the early stages of like blue belt. But that's just like how the morning dynamics worked out. Like not many people like train at 6 a.m. Or maybe I don't want to say not many people, because like we get up to like 20 people, and it's usually always double digits for 6 a.m., which is nice. But like there's times where like not all those people are like capable to teach a class, or someone who is capable is probably not going to want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go train. But with any other class, you know, whether it's us, like if I wasn't teaching that class, I'd be taking the class. And that's how I started, obviously. And the same with like the noon and the evening classes, like they're not just people that walk in off the street that are probably in that scenario is probably what happened. Like they just had some resume that's not a real resume. It's just like a word of mouth thing. Like, oh yeah, I have 3 fights over here and I've been training for this long and I could teach cardio kickboxing, or I could go teach your Muay Thai class, or I wrestled in high school, I could teach a grappling class, some crazy thing like that. Like it's just a little more like, I don't want to say like, I don't know if like intimate would be the word, but it's a little more in-house at least for like jiu-jitsu schools, it seems like.
Yeah, it's personal, and you'll get exposed real quick if you're trying to pretend.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
for
So-
sure. Yeah, the great thing about like any, I don't want to say any martial art, but like it seems like jiu-jitsu or like maybe like a Muay Thai or like a boxing is like those are the ones that you're gonna get exposed. Like you can't just say like, you can't be that giant black cop off a YouTube or whatever who's going around and doing all these fake self-defense moves.
The urban
I don't even know.
Detroit survival guy. Is that the guy you're talking about?
It might be, yeah. Like walks around in like the bulletproof vest, like his like
Yes.
SWAT tactical get up.
Yeah, that's him.
And then you see him in those videos where like he tries to take the gun and the guy doesn't like let him take the gun. He's like, oh no, you gotta let me take the gun.
Right.
Or like, I'm gonna do this, but they give him like the wrong reaction, which is just a normal reaction. Like, I'm gonna swing at you and you just move. And you're like, well, you can't move. Like, you got to let me hit you for this demonstration or
Right,
something, right? It's like the
exactly.
craziest
Some
things.
dramatic, like, I'm gonna take your gun move.
Yeah, and all you do is, oh no, you're not
Yeah.
gonna take my gun. So, but like stuff like that, like that guy could just say he was a coach or say he has like this experience, and like at a mass-produced gym, like a UFC gym or a tap-out gym, they're like, all right, great, we've ran out of all our coaches this month, and we've cycled through 10 people in the last 2 months. So you're more than welcome to come teach, and we'll try it out. But they said like at a jiu-jitsu or something like that, like you're gonna get exposed, and they're like, oh, that guy's not a black belt or a brown belt or whatever it may be. He's probably just a guy who bought a gi online, and that's it.
That'd be crazy. if that
There's
happened.
plenty of videos online. I love them of all the fake black belts going in and getting humbled. You
Yeah.
ever watch those?
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
You
I
ever
have
watched
not.
those?
No,
No?
I haven't
Oh,
seen it.
man.
That
There's some
sounds
good
fun.
ones.
Yeah, you guys got to stumble across some of those. They're always fun ones, and it's like ones like, and there's even like ones that take it too far. Like they have to know, like I'm not capable to just walk into this gym and like beat this guy up. But then you get the guys that just walk into this gym and challenge somebody there, and then obviously you know they kind of get their ass kicked. Like people like will go and like challenge like Sean Strickland or something, right? Like obviously that guy is not going to be like, no, get out of here. Like he's pretty, I don't want to say dumb enough, but he's gonna like take the fight and like fight you in his gym and just have like no worries about it. Or like imagine like going in and thinking you're gonna like just fight some guy. Like Sean Strickland's probably like, he's not like an intimidating guy, right? Like if you just saw him on the street, you'd be like, hey, it's just a normal guy. Like I could probably take him. But then like these guys get in their head and like you're walking into like a professional gym or whatever it might be, and then just getting like so humbled. Like who's the, I mean, I don't know if anyone knows this guy's name, but he's made like a YouTube like career off of going in like being a boxer and like saying he's like 100 or
Charlie Zolanoff.
is that what it is? It's
Yeah,
good
that's
for
the guy
you,
you're
yeah.
talking about,
Like he just goes into these gyms, challenges these people, and like basically like, here, put these gloves on, and as you take the gloves, he swings on you, and then he calls that like undefeated type of thing, because like obviously like if you sucker punch someone, you're probably gonna win a fight.
Yeah.
So then he goes in and he sucker punches them. And then he says he's undefeated in the streets with like 100-0 or 1,000-0 or something crazy like that. And you're just going out handing these people brain damage. I think like I've seen some of his videos, like he was in a locker room and like, hey, you want to fight and do this? And like they set it up in like a changing room. And then he like basically gives the guy the gloves and just swings on him. Like obviously like you're getting set up for failure here. But he's walked into like a real gym, and then like there's a video of him just getting his ass kicked, and he's trying to
ask, like,
yeah.
how do you get away with that and not
Oh,
get your ass-
this guy
ass
didn't let him
kicked?
get away. I don't know who it was who beat him up.
That to Nico. Like, that would be.
It's a bad day.
That would
if
be
I-
a horrible day.
Yeah, Nico's a bad example. Like if I saw Nico, and I would be like, because you see him like this like training picture or something. Like Nico's jacked. Like I think he was like the 145-pound champ at one point or something like that.
45 and 55.
Yeah, so like I don't know how you could possibly be 145 pounds. Like you're a giant. Like I can't imagine myself getting down to 145 ever again. But he's way bigger than me. And I don't know, maybe it's like just easier because like it's like the muscular frame, so it's a little bit easier to shed the weight than being like unhealthy.
Good point.
He says it was easy, but I was there for a few of them.
For
and it was not
for
easy.
nobody is it easy, right? Like I think you just have to say it's easy, just to like, you know, you can't let anyone know like I'm struggling to make this weight, right? Like you got to put on your game face and be like I'm good. I'm sure even the cut to 155 is not easy, but way easier than 145. Those last 10 pounds are probably crazy.
Last weight cut for Hunter, it was like just a very humbling experience to watch him drop that weight, because I think he was walking around, he was trying to gain weight, and he made it to 155, I think, and then he got offered that fight, well, like 125 fight, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna, and it's what he usually fights at, and then but that cut down was like super dramatic.
From 155, and so like
55.
What do you weigh right now?
150, something like that. 153, somewhere in there. Maybe. Okay, but that I can do 125 once, no problem. But that was for the tournament. Yeah. So I had to lose weight, and then I had to stay low for another month before my next fight. Yeah.
And so like back to back. That's tough. Rough. Yeah.
Staying. Yeah. Had to stay. I stayed about 10 pounds, about around 140 between the fights, and had to drop down the rest of that weight, and it was rough. And as soon as my second fight finished, I gained like at least an extra like 5 to 10 pounds over. Huh? Like, my body was trying to hold on. You could tell it thought it was dying.
It's like, is it like a concern to you to be like, how long? I guess not, because you could always just go to 135, right? But like, how long you can continue to make that weight? Because like, obviously, like you just said, like your body reacts to it, and like after it's all done, like you gain this weight, it's gonna be a lot harder to lose that extra like 5 pounds that you ballooned up out of nowhere, and like your body's just hanging on and clinging to stuff. So have you like thought about like that down the road?
I think I'm probably going to be going up to 135. I mean, I can't even take another fight right now for a while until I'm probably done with my probationary period at the fire department, or at least more settled in where I can talk to my captain and be like, hey, is this going to be an issue? Am I going to get fired if I get injured? Because it's a real possibility.
Yeah, definitely.
But once I can fight again, I'm probably going to be going up to 135, which is a bummer because I just won the belt at 135 or 125.
Yeah.
So.
And what promotion was that for?
The AFC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was, when was the last AFC show?
2021, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So since then, have you done anything?
Nope.
No?
Nothing.
Because they have, Ace Combat, who just had a show last night. And shout out to Terrence Mitchell for winning that fight. And
Terrence fought last night?
Yeah, I didn't hear about it till I don't know if yesterday was Saturday, so I don't think I heard about it till Friday.
I just saw John and I think Joey also fought, but I saw that on their stories and I was like, oh, they fought? Like, I'm so upset I missed that.
Yep, and then so I think that's the same thing I saw Terrence's with like on his story, but it might have been a post or something, and I don't think it was him that shared it. I think someone else shared it, and I was just like, oh wow, like so like, but making last minute plans to go out to Palmer just wasn't like in the situation.
Was Terrence's fight at 135 then?
I'm not actually sure.
Because he was the 125 champ for AFC for like 7 years or something like that. And now as soon as I am going up weight, he went up weight too. I'm like, we can't get away from each other. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Nice. Have you guys fought before?
No, we haven't fought, but we've been training together for years now. So there's not enough of us to fight each other up here. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to muddy the waters with any of my good training partners because he's probably my best one.
And they're so great to spar with and train with.
Terrence and Maurice are the best. Like I'm sure there's like other guys out of their little crew too. But so
Chelsea.
And she's getting into those women's sister's husband at the time.
100%.
Does she? So we'll get into that, but So I started out with Terrence and Maurice in like, I want to say like 2007 maybe.
I heard your fight story is really fun.
Yeah, so we started out and...
How old were you?
I want to say I was 18. That's so like, cool. It was like one of those people, like it's like I felt tough in high school. And then, so they're like, all right, well I could actually do like real fights and then not be like, some person who just thinks it's cool to fight in the streets.
I love that bravery because like I don't have that. Like that's not what I feel.
And at the time, and I'm sure like as you're walking out, like you probably attest to it, like you're brave talking about it right now. But like as you walk out and like you're in the locker room and like you're driving to the arena even, like I was like, man, I am such a pussy. Like this is so not good. Like what am I thinking right now?
Why am I doing this? What's happening?
And like the way in my first fight ever was against this giant, and the guy I was training with was my sister's husband at the time. Like we saw the guy and like you walk in and like, these are like, this was in 2007, 2008. So like everything's like kind of blind. It's like when you go to Thursday night at the fights, like I think you just get picked. Like you just go up and not knowing if you're going to fight, right? Yeah. So it's the same thing. Like you're going in, you don't know who anybody is. Like that guy's about my size. That guy's my size. Oh, I could definitely beat that guy. And then this other guy walks in, and he was supposed to be like a newcomer or a debuter, and everybody there knew him. And like they just yelled out. His nickname was the Barbarian. I turn around, and just everything sank out of me. I went from being like this tough guy to like, oh, I'm so screwed. And the guy I was with, who was like, you know, the guy who was just cornering me, like, we didn't really train together. He was a college wrestler, and he was like, if you want to leave right now, we could leave. And like that's like the reality set in. Like, I don't know if I should be here right now. And then go into the fight, and like I lose in the first round, like an armbar. But like he drops me in the clinch, and like at the time, like I wasn't even like training. Like I shouldn't have fought. And like just the head position in the clinch, like up against the cage, like I had my head. No, so like we had the head position, and he had like a clinch, and then like my head was just to the wrong side, so he just threw this uppercut out of nowhere, and it just landed so flush. No. And like I don't remember like necessarily like remember the punch. I just ended up on the ground. I'm like, I have no idea how I got here. And then luckily he was merciful and armbarred me, and didn't just beat my ass.
Merciful.
It was tough. It was such a wake up call. It was like the same wake up call I had like going into jiu-jitsu like years later, and then thinking I'm like, all right, I was like tough in high school. I was good at grappling. I have a little bit of like MMA and grappling background from like 2008 and maybe 2009. And then I don't know when I got back into jiu-jitsu, but it was years later. It was like 7-8 years later. And then rolling with Roger for the first time. And I was like, oh no, I suck. Like I am not good at this at all. And it's like just a huge wake up call.
What belt was Roger back then?
I think he just got his brown belt. So Roger was like a purple belt for years, and maybe like a little bit of his own doing and taking time off and traveling around a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of things that went to it, because even at brown belt, like, and this is only what I know now. At the time I didn't know. I was like, oh God, brown belts are gods. And like, and they are, like, brown belts are amazing. Like, and it's throw in like some teaching and throw in like a little bit of just matureness. Like brown belts and black belts are like right there with each other, right? At the time, like I didn't know that. Like I was just like, all right, brown belt, and then there was other great people there too, but like, man, there was just no chance I could ever like win a round or get like a good position. Our first time rolling, I think it was, you know, like he's obviously the instructor, and I'm just like a new white belt, like, so they give you everything. And you know, like he went to turtle, I had like this little a collar grip, and I sat over to like throw like the leg over and almost go like this like bow and arrow. And like I've never put on a gi. It just seemed like that was a good thing to do. And after that, like he didn't tap to it. He got out of it. And then I feel like every roll after that, he's just put it on me, and like he's made me pay for it every time. But yeah, so he was, I think, a brown belt at the time, and then he got his black belt maybe a year into my training, maybe 2 years into it though. But man, like that guy's been training forever. And fun fact about him, I think he got Forrest Griffin into MMA. Like they grew up in the same area. Like he's from Louisiana, and Forrest are like from Georgia, but they got into it, and like I'm pretty sure he got Forrest into it, and obviously Forrest went on to become like a world champion, right?
Wow. I have no idea. That's
yeah, Roger, like these cool stories, like MMA stories from way back when. Yeah, like apparently he was, like Roger's like the man to me in my eyes. Like he's the guy.
Just his aura, just the few times that like I've gotten to meet him or taken one of his classes where he's teaching him, just definitely has that energy where I appreciate him. I know that I respect him just naturally, because of the person that he is. But I didn't know that. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, he's got a ton of cool old MMA stories, like starting out and all that stuff. Like it's just another thing to add to like the cool repertoire of Roger.
Yeah,
he's got professor energy for sure. You know
what I mean? Yeah. And then I feel even like when I roll with him now, and like even being like a brown belt now, and like now I can catch him, and like it's like good fun back and forth ones. But even now, once in a while, I feel like he just lays there and like plays possum and just waits for it, and then he just attacks. And he has like this like brown, like black belt, like constriction. Like if he grabs your arm, like it's your arm, and literally everything he does hurts you. Like he could be demoing a move, and everything hurts just the way he grabs you.
I want that.
That's what I want to. I was like, that's what I need. Like that's black belt to me. Like, and everything else that comes along with it. But I was like, that's what I need. Like if I grab your arm, I need that to be mine. Like you never get it back. And once in a while, like I rolled with someone the other day in our morning class, and we had a good roll, and but I just grabbed on. I don't remember exactly what position we were in. It's kind of a weird one, but I grabbed the arm like and went like Kimura, but like he just like tapped from pressure, like as like grabbed it, like I just felt like everything come together, and as I pulled to like separate, like the shoulder was coming out and they tapped immediately. I was like, that was it. Like that's the feeling I need every roll. And hopefully one day, but not right now.
It is it's an interesting feeling, and I'm sure you're getting it too, teaching new guys in the morning. Where like you're seeing them think of you in the way that you kind of thought of your instructors back in the day. You're like,
once in a while I see it, and
it's rare glimpses, but
it is. Yep, but to me, like it might be to like you guys too. Like it's foreign, it's weird. Like I was just you, like literally, like a couple years ago, I was you, like looking up to these people who I still look up to, but like I'm that for you. Like,
100%.
oh, this is weird. Like I'm not a blue belt to you. Like I don't like, because I look in the mirror like before my first stripe on the brown belt, like when I was just a brown belt and even a purple belt, like it was just like total imposter syndrome. Like I walk by a mirror and it's just like a blue belt walking by, and I'm like, you guys want to learn from me?
I
Like
still feel that way. Putting on my brown belt in judo and then my purple belt in jiu-jitsu, I'm just like, it just feels so weird. There was this moment where Nifo had given me my brown belt in judo. Yeah. And I like waited after class, and then I approached him and I was like, I don't think you meant to give this to me. Yeah. And then he looks at me and in my eyes. It's me, Stephanie. Yeah, like, you know who I am? And he looks at me and he's like, are you questioning me? And I was like, no, sir. Like, it's on. Yep. You right. Like at that point I don't ask, but I do feel the only reason what I go through is I know that they'll look at me as a coach, like in my women's self-defense class, they look at me as a coach. They look at me in the same way that I look at Jordan, for example, or Nico. And for me, it's like, don't do that. Like, I'm not that great, right? Like that's the only reason you think I'm great is because you don't know enough. And then once you figure it out, you're gonna be like, oh, Stephanie was like, she was basic. Like
but man, by the time they figure that out, and this is what I'm hoping, like by the time they figure it out, like
that'll be great.
Joke's on you guys. Like by the time you're good to know this, like then I'll be really good. And then 100%. You can look at me like that. But yeah, like
not right now.
It's tough. Yeah, like to even get past it, I'm like, oh, you guys want me to teach today? Like, I don't know if you want to learn my shitty details. Like
that's how I feel whenever you don't teach.
Like I have the most basic jiu-jitsu. Like I'm going to show you like my 3 moves, and then I'll just wing the rest of it and hope you guys get something good out of it. And then like I like tell them all, like it's like my jiu-jitsu is not for everyone. Like I'm going to give up bad positions just to like scramble and hopefully catch something. I don't want you guys to put yourself in bad positions.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, like it's and it makes it for me like one. I don't know. I probably just grew up doing horrible techniques and like giving up side control to like I could go to turtle from here, and then one day it just works out like I can't go to turtle because someone's really good at the gi and they get grips, but most of the time it works and I can just go to turtle and then I'm just gonna roll through for the legs or something. And I'm like, I don't want you guys to do that. I want you to have like good escapes and get good positions and not follow after me. It works for me, but it might not work for you guys. 100%. Like you guys should probably learn good jiu-jitsu and not like mediocre jiu-jitsu, and just hope your defense is so good that you can put yourself in these bad spots.
I have to imagine that most of the instructors worldwide are thinking the same thing, though.
Probably, yeah.
You see all of your own mistakes. Your students aren't seeing that. So they don't know all these mistakes you're making. They just see everything you're doing is right. Yeah. In a way. So.
Yeah, and it's like, because like obviously like you're like the white belts and even like blue belts, like you could, if you roll, like you're gonna tap them out like possibly as many times as you want, and then in between those you're gonna work on good stuff you want to work on and let them get some positions or maybe get a position, let them work out of it. Mm-hmm. But it's like when I do it, I'm like, yeah, I could tap you out like several times, but then I get up, I'm like, I still don't know. Like if it's, don't look at me like that. Like it's tough, man. It's tough. But I said after the first stripe on the brown belt, I felt like I was convinced. I was like, I finally just got it in my head. And still at the same time, like we have great instructors in the morning class, like, and not even saying me, like David Garness is like so good and so technical. Cool. For such a big guy. Like his like technical game is just like second to none type of thing. Like when he has like that, he has like that Danaher type of teaching, or like all these tiny details type of thing, and like all these little details matter. Yeah.
How cool.
And then like my details, like you could probably just put your arm right there, and they're like, what if this happens? It's like, probably nothing. I don't know. Don't put your arm right there type of thing.
I can relate to that thinking.
Yeah. And then at the moment we have Tom Wortman, who's a world champion, AOJ black belt, and like Pan Am's champion and American Nationals champion. So like he jumps in now and teaches some classes here. I believe his wife's like a traveling nurse, so like they're only up here a limited time. So for like the morning class to get like any exposure to that is such like a beneficial thing. It's like, when else are you gonna learn from a world champion or like the AOJ black belt, like one of the top gyms in the world type of thing. So like I feel like as far as instructors go, like we're so good, and it's like, you know, like my teaching's not going to compete with a world champion's teaching. And like someone who's under like the Mendez bros and Tynan Dalpra, like who brings like that same like technique, like just so lucky to be able to learn from him. And then like the next person is like David Garness, and like his teaching's so technical and has all these tiny nuances. And he plays all these different guards, or at least watches videos on him and teaches them. And then like it's the same thing, like you're back to imposter syndrome. We're like, I don't know if you guys want me to teach. Like, you sure you don't want them to teach? Like, they're amazing, you know? Like, I'm just happen to be here, and I happen to be a brown belt. Like, I just don't know if you want to learn my shitty techniques. But
you just feel like you got lucky in every role that you've won. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, yeah, that's how I feel too.
Yeah, because some days, like, you know, I get it's hard to just like say that, right? Like when you really think about it, like, well, I get lucky way more than I get unlucky. But there's those days you get unlucky, right? And you have bad rolls or bad days, and like you're the nail, and you're like, this is my jiu-jitsu. Like, and then the other days when you're doing great, you're like, all right, that was fun. But it's never like, that's my jiu-jitsu. And it's just like, all right, that was cool. But when you get beat, it's just like, I suck.
Yeah.
And
ruins your night for sure.
Oh god, yeah. And then it's one of those things, like even being like, you know, upper belts, like how often you still go home and be like, well, you get caught with the submission, you still go home and just dwell on it, right? Like you're like,
yeah.
And then as soon as the submission's over, or the roll's over, or the drive home, or like that night, you're just like, I could have got out of that.
It attacks my self-worth.
It does, yeah. And then you're like just a blue belt with wearing a brown belt type of thing, and like and it's every time like I could have fought that grip. I could have just rotated my arm and got out of that arm bar. I could have popped my heel out of that heel hook. But it's unfortunate, like it's just not like that, right? And
I've started liking those moments. So I do a lot of like psychological stuff too, because I get really emotional with my MMA or jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Very emotional. As partners, there's been moments where we've had to take breaks where we're like, we can't be partners with each other anymore. Yeah, because Hunter's like so like analytical, and I'm like, oh, like I get so emotional whenever I can't do something, which is hilarious because he's like obviously better than me, and I'm like, why couldn't I tap you? And it's like personal to my soul. But like this last the women's tournament over at AGA.
Yeah.
I came in with a certain strategy, and when that strategy did not work, I was able to go home and be analytical about it. I was able to go, that did not work. That makes sense. That was an outcome that could happen.
Yeah.
And now I know that I don't like playing that game. I'm taking that out of my game, and I'm going to try this different. But I went home and did the same thing. I could have gotten out of this back take. I could have gotten myself out of that arm bar. How could I have done that better? Or how could I have not avoided that position? And then like actually sat down and like really thought about it without the emotions involved. And that was awesome to get to that point.
Yeah. Same time, it's like, it's like tough. Like I said, it's like you attack your self-worth. It's like demoralizing to know you could have got out of it, or like whatever the situation might be, and then just be like, no, I just didn't get out of it. You know, like they were just better than me.
Yeah. 100%.
And who's to say, like, if I would have got out of that, they weren't just a step ahead, and they were like planning me to like roll my arm and get out of the arm bar, or pop the leg over the head or something.
Oh, facts.
And they were just they were ready for it. Like they were obviously ready to say arm bar me or do whatever. Like they were obviously a step ahead. Like, and it's hard to be like, that's what happened. It's easier to be like, I could have got out of it, and then just leave it at that. But that's like, true. If you got to go deeper and be like, could I have gotten out of that? Like, would I just went into the next thing?
Yes.
Or like what it might be? Because like everybody has that moment when they're like, when they go home and be like, I could have done this different, I could have done that. But like would it have made a difference in the whole roll altogether? Like you just never know, but like you got to kind of assume like they caught you there. Like it probably was just like, it just wasn't your day or your role type of thing. And like, to be honest with yourself is probably like a huge, like growing step that everyone should go through. And I think I just went through it. So
I think there's also something to be said for not, letting your ACL pop when somebody, you know, just because you could get out of something.
I feel attacked right now.
Like,
like my knee popped out of place today when I rolled. Very first roll.
You may have been able to get out of something, or if they would have held on 10 more seconds, who knows? Maybe you wouldn't be able to train the next day.
That's true.
Totally true.
Might not be worth it.
Yes, I mean, I think it was 2 open mats ago. Might have been 3 weeks ago. I don't know how long it is now. Just it all just blurs together now. But I showed up. I don't want to say a little early, but like you guys still had the women's self-defense class going on. And I was just sitting there stretching and warming up. And then my very first roll, like I roll with this guy, Arsae, who's a great wrestler, super jacked, like obviously very strong.
Short one.
Yep. And has the wrestling background. So his grappling's there, great base. And I gave up bad position, went to bottom side control. And then threw up the buggy choke, and my knee popped in the buggy choke, and like blew my MCL or LCL, one of the two. And then like on top of that, like my knees are like, and this is the same thing. Like I'm just like at white and blue belt, and maybe not so much purple belt. It was like I was just stubborn enough to like, I'm not tapping this, or like one thing was like outside heel hooks, like those heel hooks, like you don't really feel until like it pops. So like I've popped like my ankles and knees in those, and it was just being so stubborn and like just not knowing like the basic defense of like what a knee line even was. Like the term knee line was just in one ear out the other, and just like, man, I just need to free my knee and push this down. And I was just getting stuck in it and trying to fight out against maybe people who wouldn't let me fight out of it, and they were just going for it. So like I've had that plenty of times. Like I feel like I try to get better about it now and not being like so dumb and naive to like, oh, this could hurt. Or like this could be bad, but man, like I'm so guilty of like, I'm gonna let this pop, like unintentional. Like I don't think it's gonna pop. Like I think I just have time still. The buggy choke's a little bit different because like I would have never known that would happen. Like if you're submitting someone, like you don't think you're at risk, right? And then 2 days later on the B Team YouTube page, they put out this buggy choke video, and the first thing they show is like a cell phone clip. And this one guy's buggy choking someone in a tournament, and the same exact thing happens. You just hear the pop, and apparently it's a common thing. Like I've done the buggy choke for years, and this one time, I don't know if it was just like I've been doing it wrong the whole time, or like
stretch, or you didn't stretch long enough.
It was the first roll of the day. Like I just wasn't warmed up, and nothing against that guy. Like I should have probably just picked a different role, like someone I knew a little bit more to warm up with and get really moving around. I didn't do that, and like that's my own fault for not just being smart about my own body and how I need to warm up.
I agree.
And like I need to like look in the mirror and notice like this gray hair and like a receding hairline. I'm like, oh, you can't just hop in there anymore. Like you're not like the young buck type of thing. Like I need to like warm up. I need to have a 5-minute just moving around roll.
5 minutes. I think my warm-ups are like 30 minutes. Like I have to be disciplined about it, because usually something will get injured, and then I can't use my ankle, and then I can't train for days, and then I beat myself up for those days. And so I've gotten to the point where it's like very disciplined. I have to do these set of things. Yeah. It's like routine, and then I'll go spar with you.
That's what I need to do. But
in my opinion, I think martial arts are one of the biggest sports for athletes who don't train like athletes. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a football practice, you're going to start with a warm-up as a team. You're all going to get ready for your practice. And then you're going to eat properly or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu people just show up and they'll just start rolling.
They just start rolling,
You don't do that in any other sports.
No. And it's like who really warms up at Jiu-Jitsu, right? Like some white belts and some blue belts, and everyone else is just like, no, I know what I need to do. Like I just need to like stretch this knee out. I need to get some pops out, and I'm just gonna have a light roll with somebody I trust, and it's gonna be good, and then I'll be all warmed up and ready to go. And then, and there's like people in the morning class too. They show up early, and they have like their little rubber bands they stretch with, and they move around. And I was like, that's what I need to do. I'll never do that, but that's what I need to do.
Never do that.
No, I definitely never will. I'm just going to keep going and getting like every pop out of every joint I need to stretch my back out a little bit, like invert real quick, stretch my back out, and then I feel like I'm ready. And then obviously like my knees and my hips and everything tells me I'm not ready.
Right.
And then like I limp the entire time after, like the rest of this day. Like I went to open mat yesterday and today. So like the rest of today, I'm just gonna be limping around and hobbling and like just really regretting everything. And it could probably be solved with just a good warm up.
I feel you. I really impress upon like our women's self-defense class or our combat jiu-jitsu class is we dedicate the first 15 minutes to warm up, and you
guys like shrimp up and down the mat type of thing.
We'll get to that, but like we'll start with dynamic stretching, and so like I'll make all the women stretch at the beginning, and then we'll do some movements after that, which is more dynamic but in stretching and really focusing on warming up the whole body first, and then we'll start with our shrimps and our sit outs and shots and stuff like that, or whatever pertains to the position that we're learning that day.
Speaking of shots real quick, we trained at a morning class you randomly came to when we were across the parking lot.
I used to be so disciplined to come
some of the nicest shots I've ever seen. So I just want to say, like, good for you. Like, I'm so impressed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it was super great.
I used to avoid the warm-ups because of how embarrassed I felt, and I would go over to the other mat because that location had 2 separate mats, right? Or was that the one on Boniface?
No, that was the Boniface one, yeah.
And so they had 2 different mats and then like an area you could walk in the middle. I'd go to the other mat that nobody was using, and I would just practice and drill because I no longer wanted to be like hold anybody back. Like Jordan would tell us what to do, and then someone would get stuck behind me. I hated being that person that you got stuck behind. So I'd go over to the side and like drill.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty disciplined about that. Like if there's something that I'm not good at, I will go drill it on my own. I think that's so important. Like if you actually want to get good at something, you have to drill that thing over and over again.
I feel attacked again. I don't think I've drilled in the last 2 years at all. Like I don't drill during class. Like if someone needs a partner, if someone needs a partner, like I'll let them drill, and then like, you want to go? I'm like, not really. Or like usually I get lucky and like it's like an even number. I'm like, oh, thank goodness I don't need to partner up with anyone. I can just go around and like, it's like, all right, you're doing this wrong. Let's try this type of thing. But man, I hate drilling so bad.
It's a bad trap to get into when you're like the extra coach guy that's like wants to walk around and help people. Yeah. Then you're not getting any training for yourself.
Yeah. And
I've been guilty myself.
I'm still at that like mindset of just, I'm just here to roll. Like I'm here to help all of you guys get better. Not necessarily myself. I'm just here to roll at the end. Like I'm going to work out all my drilling, all my techniques I want to work on during live rolls. And it's just how I've been since like probably like the second half of purple belt, or maybe from purple belt on to now. Like I just think drilling's so boring.
I want to be a great coach. I want to be great. Like I want you, like how many women do you see actually out there in fights, like coaching people? Not a lot.
No,
and I want to be one of them who's like sitting on the sidelines, like coaching a man or a woman in the ring or in a cage. I want to be great. And so like I think that keeps me going. And I think in order to be great, you do have to compete. And so you have to know what it's like to get your feet wet out there and what it's like to be in that mindset and really conquer competition. And then by conquer, I mean like the mindset, being in competition, playing the game you want to play, being really mindful about it. And then as well as being an athlete, I need to know what it's like to train at that extreme. And so I think that keeps me going. That's why I drill so much. That's why I'll study it. I'll look at it. I'll Hunter. I have Hunter. That's such a cool, like I live with somebody who like eats, breathes, shits, like jiu-jitsu, MMA, all of it. Like we're so similar in that way.
And that's gotta be, like you said, like that's gotta be great. Like
it's amazing.
Once in a while I get my wife into a class. We'll go to like an open mat or something. She's in an academy right now herself, and when that's over, like she thinks she's gonna start judo again. So maybe I'll like go with her to that, and hopefully like just helps her like motivate her to like go back and get in like the routine of having like that physical activity. But like it would be so nice to be like have someone to talk jiu-jitsu with like at home, or like who wants to watch these fights or something like that, or like, hey, do you want to drill this real quick?
Babe,
or like,
try this
do you want to get a quick roll in real quick? Like that would be.
As much as you say that, when you've been training for a couple hours together though, and you finally get home, a lot of times it's pretty easy to be like,
oh, for sure,
like, just like, give me a minute, like like, you know, it's hard to get down on the carpet and do some jiu-jitsu when you've been training all day. And
no, I definitely believe it.
Like I'm so lucky to have him, because he's like he's been an athlete. He's gotten to the top of the AFC with his belt, and so I've gotten to see that journey, and like bite off of it. And so when Hunter is eating really healthy
Yeah.
and he gets so disciplined about it, it's like one of my favorite things about him is how disciplined he gets.
Yeah.
And the whole house is eating healthy. Everybody,
that's what it's
we have to
about.
get all the sweets out of the house. We have to,
Yeah.
Hunter's doing some sort of routine, like a cold shower routine
Yeah.
every so often. We're now doing a cold shower
Yeah.
routine together. It's like he's going to go run up a mountain. I'm going to go run up that mountain with
Nice.
him. And so
Yeah.
like it turns into a
just to
couple
have that
thing.
like not even like moral support, but just to have someone there to do it with you. Like how hard is it to like work out and like get motivated on your own, right? For like whether it's motivated to eat healthy or motivated to go run up that mountain, like on your own, like for me it's like nearly impossible. Like only thing I can get motivated to do on my own is just go to jiu-jitsu. But like to go on like say a hike or something like that, or to eat healthy, like it's tough because like if everyone's not with you, it makes it really hard. Like
agree.
like
That
how
is
hard is it for you to like start just eating healthy, right? Like, and if one of the kids are like getting snacks or like just some sugary junk food, like
You wanna
it's
eat.
right there. Like
It
I could
is.
have one, and then one of course leads to multiple type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't had any fights since the AFC went away, right? So a couple years. Has there been like any interest in fighting for one of those other promotions, like in Palmer or Fairbanks?
Yeah, actually, I've put my name in the hat. I think probably 2 or 3 times, and they just either the opponent pulled out or they just didn't find somebody for me.
That's
to
what it's
fight,
been
so.
like when Terrence and Maurice came on, and when Jesse came on. Like that was their biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is like just like we have fights lined up, but they always pull out, like or they can't find anyone. Like everyone's ducking them, and which. You know, from the outside's perspective, like, well, Jesse, you're a beast. Like, I'd duck you too. And and Terrence and Maurice, like, I've known you guys forever. Like, if I
love him.
knew you guys but didn't know you guys, like, I'd duck you too. Like,
Word.
like you guys are monsters.
They're extraordinary.
But like, and then
they
being
take
like,
it seriously.
oh yeah, and then being like so like isolated in Alaska, it's like you have to go out and get these other people. And if the people who were running AFC like the short time before it went away, like if you're not going out and like getting these people and bringing them in, so like these like top local athletes have someone to fight, like, well, no one in town's going to fight them. Like they already know, or you've already beaten them, or like just word of mouth. Like no one wants to take that fight. Like they want to be considered the best and maybe get like the easiest route up there, right? So like why would I fight like one of the top guys in Alaska when I could just fight this nobody who signed up on the internet, right?
Yeah, and you're only making $400 to fight the top guy in Alaska,
Right.
So that's rough.
Yeah, and like, so I mean, I'm hoping like when it comes back, the AFC comes back, like it's nice that there'll just be like 3 promotions up here, so it's just gonna get bigger, and hopefully each one of them does their part in bringing other people in, so there's more opponents and just more fish in the pool type of thing. And I believe Sarah will do that. I don't actually have
I did listen to the episode.
Yeah, I don't have a relationship with any of the other 2 people, but I would love to, and just to find out, like, man, like, what are you guys doing to, like, are you bringing in people from out of state? Or
Melinda?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she is. I think I don't know a lot of what she's doing, but I think she's working really hard. Just
Yeah.
like based on the conversations that I've had with her, I have
Yeah.
a lot of trust in.
That's
She's
good.
she's a great promoter.
Nice.
She's really awesome, builds really meaningful relationships,
Yeah.
and I really think that she's working hard
Nice.
to make extraordinary things happen in the fight community.
Like,
here.
and then the only like downside to that promotion is like it's all the way in Fairbanks.
Fairbanks.
Like it's we're
Oh,
gonna drive
it's so
6 hours. We're
far.
we're out here cutting weight. Are we gonna drive 6 hours?
Oh my
Like
gosh,
that's a
that
long drive.
I didn't eat that whole drive.
Oh, boy.
And we had the car full of snacks, but I had to I weighed in at the gym,
Yeah.
and I thought it was like 5 pounds over or something, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to poop, I can't eat, I can't drink anything.
Yeah.
And so the whole 7 hours I couldn't eat or drink anything, but
Yeah.
I ended up being 3 pounds under.
Oh, really?
When I weighed in, and so
Yeah.
I like looked at the scale and I laughed, and I was like, I could have drank water.
that hindsight of be like, I'm so dumb. Like I've just been miserable for so long, because 3 pounds is a lot. Like you could feel a lot better with an extra even 2 pounds, and even pound, like if I could have just had a sip of water, I'd have felt better. And I've been in that position like so many times. Like if like you're sitting there trying not to drink water, or like you're spitting to lose weight because you don't want that like extra liquid type of thing. I had a cut down to 145 and I missed weight, but I think part of it was like someone I was there at Alaska Club with in the sauna, like they were in the waiting room to come get me, and I just had to stay in a little bit longer, and I felt pretty decent. but like they were worried, so like they ended up like having someone come and get me. So I left and I was like, all right, well, I think I could probably take a nap, float a little bit, like a little bit of weight, and then hopefully the spitting thing will work. And I ended up weighing like 2.5 or 3 pounds over. And then it was just like, man, but it was like that time I was like, if I just had a sip of water, I'd be perfect right now. Like if I just didn't have cotton mouth, or if I had like a bite of food, like just something with some moisture in it, I would feel great right now.
For me, I've always, when I'm cutting a lot of weight, I've always been in the sauna with an ice cube in my mouth all the time. And I've had people give me shit about it, like, oh, you're getting extra water. I'm like, I do not care about this gram of water when I'm sweating out a pound over the 15 minutes or whatever, you know? And I know my last fight, I was so thirsty that I went to the fight, to the promotion where we're weighing in at, weighed myself, saw I think the cutoff was 126. Yeah. And I was 125.4. Yeah. Or 0.6. So I had 0.4 under. Yeah. And I went home and weighed out 0.4 of water. No, nice. 0.4 ounces and just 4 ounces, enjoyed every bit of it. 4 ounces, yeah. It was like one little sip.
Just savored the little sip, yeah. But man, at the time though, like that's like it's you huge. Do stuff like that. Yeah, it's huge to you, like mentally, and I'm sure physically too. Like that little bit, just having it in your body is just you need that, right? Like it's so unhealthy to like sit
dying.
there.
You're literally dying.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think the weight cut for women is that intense. It wasn't that aggressive. I just I ate clean for a little bit, and I thought my math was correct and that I'd be like 135 that day. Yeah. Or maybe even a little bit under, so that I could like enjoy the trip over there, but I wasn't, and so I was like, oh no, okay, so now we just don't eat all day, and I have to skip. I can't drink any water on the way over there. Yeah. And so it's definitely not as dramatic. I didn't have to experience anything because I walk around at 140 naturally. Okay. And so 135 is no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, just like a nice clean diet would probably get you pretty much all the way there.
Right, 100%.
Yeah, and then any cutting weight you do, like you're gonna end up 3 pounds under.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, I mean, she swings weight day to day a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, I only swing like 2 pounds throughout the day, maybe 3. She swings like 5 to 6 sometimes.
Yeah, me too. Like I can range anywhere from like. I want to say like 165 to 173, more so, like not as much anymore, but like even a year ago, or like if I'm like really working out or like eating decent, like I could swing like 10 pounds, like, and be really dramatic. I think maybe like just metabolism and stuff right now is like slowing down, so it's a little more consistent, and it's probably only within like 3 or 4 pounds. But man, just not long ago, it would be just huge swings every which way. So, man, before we wrap up, let's get into this women's self-defense class every Saturday at Legacy Jiu Jitsu. How long has this been going on for?
4 years.
4 years?
4 years.
And it started off as something else. It was just called like women's self-defense class, and it's recently changed to the combat.
It's changed names like 3 or 4 times, but it's basically been the same class.
We've rebranded a couple times. So it started as a self-defense class. Frankie and Jordan first started it. It was their idea. Yeah. And so I was only a student there, and Hunter assisted when he could. Yeah. And then I remember, like, I think either I said I want to teach one class because I have some experience, specifically with striking is like my thing, and I would love to be able to teach a striking class and from a women's perspective. And then it turned into I want to do this all the time. Yeah. And so then me and Hunter took it over, and I thought it would be a great idea to have Hunter and me do it because he has more experience. He has like double the experience that I do. And so you have my perspective, you have my face for it, and you have my teaching and my guidance there, but you also have Hunter, who's such a great source of information when it comes to like, he's like obsessed with it.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's like, like the class is great because as like, even for like a guy, it can be intimidating to go try something new, right? And then for women to go into like a sport that's dominated by males, or like the majority is going to be like male students in the classroom, like even more so intimidating. And so to go in and have somewhere to go on like a free class, let alone where it's just females and just people like you who either just enjoy having just that women camaraderie, or they're just trying to get their toes wet to see if like they actually want to go in and try like the bigger thing, right? And then to have like the male there, and like, because you never know like why they want to be in this, right? They could be in from like an abusive relationship. They could be just wanting to learn some self-defense to avoid that situation altogether. Right. So, and then maybe they just have a bad experience with males altogether. So to have like just one, you have like like the leader, right? Who like is the woman there in charge and you're learning from, and it's kind of why you're there. But to have like that male role model or figure also that's like, no, we're here for a good reason, and all that. It's got to be like encouraging for them too.
I agree.
It's been a huge learning curve for us, well, for me specifically, because I remember when we first started teaching, there'd be days when like I was a little too gung-ho. You get used to all the jiu-jitsu guys who are used to just being in contact, and like I've learned I had to be very careful with some of the people coming in because I don't know what they may have gone through the day before, and I don't know how they look at men. And I have on my side that I'm not a very intimidating male. I'm a pretty small guy. You know what I mean? I'm not Jesse coming in and yelling at them.
To teach jujitsu from a a smaller person because he is shorter.
Which
I'm
sure most of them are like are smaller and have like so that's great.
Yeah, that helps for sure.
But so we have women from all kinds of walks of life. They come in like one of my favorite students walked in and she had a black eye and she had walked into class and she was like, I'm here for your class, and she
for her first class
nice. And she seemed so intimidated or like just like soft spoken, and now she's been here like almost 2 years officially, I think a few weeks ago, and she is like talkative, she's ambitious, she's like she's gonna have her first fight soon.
Awesome.
Like she's so into it and so like motivated and loud and helpful, and like she's got a teacher vibe now and she wants to help other women and empower them.
That's
and
awesome.
It's been incredible to see, and there's a lot of women that are like that. That I've seen just like Gwen has been one of them where she's our first blue belt, and she now comes to the morning classes. She's like really disciplined, and to the point of like, I need to do stretches, I need to learn. She's watching videos, she's trying to figure it out, she's trying to map it out for herself. And it's been an incredible experience to watch these women just like that have really intense stories, because they'll like tell you like, hey, this, and they'll tell you where they came from, what their story is, and then they open up and how you've been able to empower them.
To me, that's one of the most important things. It's we want to help every single person that we can, but if you can help people to help other people, now you're a force multiplier, right? You're sending people out who are having this big impact on the world.
Not only like to give you the confidence to be like, maybe like, and you know, obviously I can only assume why she walked in with a black eye, but to give you the confidence to like maybe get yourself out of that situation of what caused the black eye or what could have potentially caused it, but let alone to give you the confidence to like want to help someone else, like all right, your voice is now being heard, like let me help you get your voice heard type of thing now. And there's got to be, I can't even imagine how many like women are out there who could benefit, like everyone could benefit from it, right? From going to like jiu-jitsu or like the free women's class
maybe I'm
only.
Biased, but every woman should learn how to do that. Like it's absolutely like, it's a game changer. The confidence that I have, it comes out of my personality. It comes in the way that I present myself. I just feel so much more. It's ridiculous how much it's absolutely changed the person that I was, who was like really shy, could not do this with you today, just like very timid, very really easily pushed over, and people pleaser, just like all kinds of walking around with my own trauma. Got into it because I just wanted to learn how to get people to stop messing with me, but also because I was an angry person and was getting kicked out of sports for being a little angry person, ball of fire. I would just explode. But like, so I found my sport. But it's been, I feel like every woman should get to, even if like you already have confidence and you know that you could stand up for yourself. Like, do you know what's gonna happen if somebody punched you in the face or put their
like
hands
you could
around
like
your throat,
and even
or
like in your
you
situation, like you can be as confident as you want, but you know, say you were in like a bad relationship and you still had this confidence you've grown to have now,
or a drunk man at a bar, just
he just
like pushes you into a wall,
right? Like you could be like the strongest girl in town, like the best girl at jiu-jitsu in town, like if some drunk guy at a bar like wanted to hurt you, like they're still very capable of hurting you.
I like weight training, right? Like having muscle, weight training, like that's one thing, right? But not even knowing how to use it. It's like, it looks intimidating, and it looks like, oh, for sure, there's that idea of like, oh, that girl's got muscle, she's probably don't want to mess with her. But like a drunk guy doesn't know that, or like your boyfriend, maybe like he has a bad night and you don't know him to that extent, and he thinks it's okay to put his hands on you because you stood up for yourself over something.
Maybe your boyfriend's that drunk guy at the bar, you know, you never know like what these situations are going to be, but like to be able to go somewhere to like learn that confidence and learn how to protect yourself. And like I said, maybe it's because you're in a bad situation and you come in the very next day, or like while you still have a black eye, or you're in a bad situation, you want to prevent that black eye, and to have a place to go where it's just women like you, and maybe it grows into like, all right, I'm gonna start going to evening class, or I'm gonna start going to these other classes now because now I'm comfortable. But to have somewhere to go has got to be so great. And like, there's some other gyms in town doing like a women's class now also.
Yeah.
And like, hopefully it just picks up, because whether like they're coming to Legacy or they're going to ABGJ or AGA, like you just need to have somewhere to go.
I agree.
And to have like a good place to where you can sit there and go, you know, figure yourself out, or figure out like what you're actually capable of, because you're not just capable of being like that timid person, you know, like that's just the most convenient thing to do in situations, whether that's just how you kind of grew up feeling, or that's how people made you feel. But like, it's so much more than that. Like, you're capable of going in there and at least just maybe you just need to get out of the house and get a hobby or whatever it might be. There's tons of reasons why these classes could be great for you. And I mean, it's just great what you guys are doing. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right, man. So we're going to wrap this up. If you guys want to plug anything, plug where they can find you guys, your classes, any fights you might have coming up or planned, or just what you guys are doing, or how they can follow you guys.
My handle on Instagram is The Mental Warrior, and you can go on there. It's on TikTok too, but I focus a lot of mental health under that handle. It's also my fight name. So when I fight, it's The Mental Warrior, but I'm also under just my name is Stephanie. You can find me on Instagram. It's spelled a little bit differently, just so some people don't find me from TikTok on Instagram, and then Facebook. I think it's spelled just exactly the way it's spelled on my birth certificate. So you can find me on there pretty.
Yeah, I don't use too many socials or anything like that, but look out for if I have any fight news, for sure. That always helps to have supporters. I think my Instagram is Headhunter33 or something like that. I'm not on there that often. But yeah, I mean,
and unfortunately, no fights coming up yet, but hopefully,
not yet. But my name is out
over,
there. Yeah, Melinda has my name for Fairbanks, and then my goal is to compete in the Jiu Jitsu gi tournament, and then the no gi tournament in October.
And the April is the gi tournament coming up, right?
Yes, I thought it was May.
And there's other, it could be, and then there's other, like now AGA is putting on like tournaments, seems pretty frequently, and then I mean, hopefully
they have
like
an all men's one coming up.
Yeah, I think maybe that one's in April, and then hopefully and then Legacy's putting on like in-house tournaments, and hopefully like maybe they'll just all start branching out, because up here, like again, being so isolated, having 2 tournaments a year, it's really tough. Like if you want to compete in jiu-jitsu, like myself, I'm either all in or all out, so competing twice a year is just not something I can like really get motivated for. But if like there's jiu-jitsu tournaments like every other month because other gyms are putting on smaller stuff, like that's what we need. But yeah, so thank you guys for coming on. I love what you guys are doing, and I love to get you guys back on eventually. I love them. Yeah, we all love you.
I want them, because I know they're going to listen to this, and I want them to know that I love them, and I appreciate that they're supporting your podcast, and that they're listening to this, and that we care about them and think about them so often.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you guys for watching. Again, like, I mean, I shout you guys out like every episode of just like all those matches you guys were having, whether it's at the quintet tournament at Legacy or the women's tournament at AGA. Like, they're all great matches, and like I said, you guys are just doing great things with them. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Come over to Legacy. Come join some of my Muay Thai classes.
There you go.
Support. There you go.
What days are those?
So right now during Academy, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. I probably won't be coaching for a little while, but here pretty soon I'll be probably picking up random days. So just come to Legacy, see when I'm coaching, join these classes.
Perfect.
Show some support. Yeah, Muay Thai.
There you go.
Muay Thai.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.